Please give a warm Georgia Tech welcome to our guests, Kerry and Ashlee.
Hi, good afternoon. So nice to meet you. My name is Kerry Schrader. I'm Ashlee's older sister, but she makes it real creepy and calls me Mom. We're so glad to be back here at Georgia Tech and to share some of our story and to certainly share with you Mixtroz, how we came up with Mixtroz and how it works. First, a little bit about me. I love whenever we speak, especially at colleges, Ashlee gets this grand introduction and it's like, there's her mom. She worked at Ford. I am very much, my background is in human resources and a very much labor-related, intensive, so was thought of as an expert negotiator in my time at Ford Motor Company, as well as in subsequent jobs that afforded me the ability to build environments that were a positive experience for employees. One day, which Ashlee will go through all of this, when life was going pretty swell, we had a crazy conversation, and then we quit our jobs. My husband still is in the hospital from that decision 4 years ago, and it's like, you did what? Yeah, I quit. I don't work. I know that. We'll be okay. Probably. So we definitely want to say that. And before I introduce Ashlee, obviously, she is my daughter. We love to answer on applications like, how did you meet? I'm like, in the delivery room. And they're like, what? She came in the world kicking and screaming then. And even as we entered entrepreneurship, she kicked and screamed as she left her New York lifestyle to come and move back home to Nashville and stay in her brother's bedroom, who had vacated it because he had joined the Army. Now, the issue now is he just got back from the Army, and he literally was like, why are you in my room? So we'll have to figure that out when we get done. But with no further ado, I would like to introduce to you my co-founder, my daughter, my wing person. She's actually trying to do weight training with me, which I hate. She's like, lay on the floor. No, you can't make me. So I didn't do that yesterday. But and co-founder of Mixtroz, Ashlee Ammons. Oh. One side note, she is from New York, and she's been there for 7 years. We're actually from Cleveland, Ohio, but she was in New York 7 years. She talks really fast like this, so you'll note, like, if you see me flailing my arms, I'm not having a heart attack. That means slow down, Roger. Okay,
all right. Okay, well, I'm going to take this microphone because for some reason my microphone is not working either, but maybe we can get it working? This one? Okay, wait, so we're gonna get it working so I can not worry about this and I can just focus on you guys. So I do talk fast. So hello, how are you guys? Is everybody good? Can I know how many, like, what year are people in? Is there year one here? Anybody? No? Freshmen? No? Sophomores? Okay, there's one. Hi. All right. How about juniors? Okay, I feel like there's a lot of seniors and graduate students. Yeah, all right, that's you guys? Okay, don't worry, I'm going to speak to you all, so hold on.
Sure. Okay, go ahead and try to talk.
Hello. Oh, yeah, did that work?
It does.
Okay, great. Okay, everybody can hear me then? Okay, great. So let's kick this thing off. So a couple things I want to say before I get started. First of all, thank you to Georgia Tech for having us back. We are super excited to be back on this campus, so thank you for that. Dr. Johnson, where are you? Oh, hi. Dr. Johnson is an early adopter of Mixtroz, and so I want to thank her very much for seeing the potential in our tech as we've been a growing, emerging startup. So the way that I like to do this talk is I want to give you guys context for entrepreneurship, because I feel like often when you hear people talk about becoming an entrepreneur, you hear about the end result. Like, I'm a $500 million company now, it's been amazing, but I want to talk to you about all the stuff that happens before that and how life itself prepares you for the journey of becoming an entrepreneur. So the best way for me to do that is to walk you through a little bit of my story. And what I'm hoping for by the end of this is that there are some things that you can pull and apply to your own life based on some of the things that I've experienced in my own. So this talk is entitled Approach Anything Like It's Everything. And that is the way that I feel like I approached everything from my undergrad to my time in New York working as a director of events to this company that we have built today. Approach anything like it's everything. So to kick this off, let's talk a little bit about face-to-face connectivity. So you guys are living in a digital age. We'll get into it a little bit later, but when I went to college, it was 2005 and we didn't have Facebook yet. So it was quite a while ago. We certainly didn't have smartphones. I think I had like a Nokia phone, and when I wanted to text, I had to hit the button 3 times to get the first letter and then continue on from there. So you guys are definitely living in this digital age. So a face-to-face request is 34 times more successful than an email. That's amazing. So think about that. 34 times. The things that you can get done in a conversation with someone are that many more times more successful than just sending an email, sending a short code. But what are the reasons behind that? So there's a couple. And the main ones that I like to talk about are these here. So we'll just talk about a few. So our company Mixtroz is all about group connections, group experiences. So what are some things that happen when you get to talk with people inside of a group? Well, you get to see their emotion. Emotional feedback is important. You know right away when you're in a group if somebody likes or does not like the thing that's being said or done. So if one of you says something that I don't really like, I'm going to go, and you see that immediately, and now that's a thing, and maybe you'll pivot, or maybe you won't, and then I won't like you. One of those things. Anyway, so there's also instant feedback. One of my other favorite things that happens is side conversation and also secondary and tertiary connections. So if you're in a group of people and you guys are talking about one main idea, sometimes you'll turn to the person next to you and say, oh, but I'm thinking about it this way. So that's something that happens when you're in a group. There is just area for more thoughts to form when you're dealing with people in a group and not sitting behind your computer screen. Think about times you've been on the phone, maybe been on a phone, a conference call type deal with quite a few people. You can put yourself on mute and totally be on Facebook or doing anything else that you might want to do behind the comfort of your computer screen. When you're in person with somebody, you really have to key in so they can read your body language, etc. I think culture is another important thing here. When you walk onto Georgia Tech's college campus, the culture is quite evident. There's a reason I did not wear a suit today. It does not fit your all's culture. And I'm coming here to become part of your culture for the day. That's all very important.
I thought it was because you woke up late.
It's also because I woke up late, but also because I was not going to wear a suit today. That's my point. Anyway, just so you guys know, the way that this works is my mom is my hype man, so I call her Jazzy Jeff, which makes me the Fresh Prince, if you guys get that reference, which you might not. But that's how this works back and forth. So these are a couple things that happens when face-to-face is at the forefront of things. So to kick off my story, I really have to take you guys back in the Wayback Machine with me to Baldwin-Wallace, which is now a university. In 2005. So in 2005, that's when I entered college. And when I entered college, I was raring to go. So that approach anything like it's everything, I really was not playing around. So this is me. The photo is blurry, but I felt the need to put it in here because this is me on my way to, I thought I was going to be crowned homecoming queen. I hate to tell y'all I was not, but I was in the running there. It was very close. So these are a couple things that I was involved in when I was in college. I was super immersed in the campus community. I wanted to make my mark on Baldwin-Wallace University, which I'll let you know, I'm still on their collateral today. So I did what I set out to do. But what I didn't realize early on was that all of these things that I was involved in really set the tone for where I was going next in life. Being involved in many things, wearing many hats, being pulled in different directions, keeping my grades up, but also being involved in campus life prepared me for the challenges that were coming next and let me figure out the tools that I needed to approach those challenges. So I also do want to point out that the dean's list is quite important because my mom definitely threatened to stop paying tuition if I dropped my math class. So I want to tell y'all that I kept going to math and kept doing all the rest of this.
You got a good grade too.
And I also got a good grade.
Yeah.
So I also wanted to be clear, this is also me. Like that was the perfect photo. This is a not so perfect photo. This is also me. I also do want to point out here that I'm carrying around this boombox because that's the best we had. That's how we played music in a large space at the time. There was no iPod at this time. So that's what's going on there. I want to fast forward a little bit from 2005 though to 2007 and talk to you about something called Dance Marathon. So is anybody familiar with the organization Dance Marathon? Yes, got some people in the back. Dance Marathon is an on-campus organization. It supports pediatric AIDS. So I was on the PR committee for Dance Marathon. So what we were charged to do was go out to organizations in Berea, Ohio, where we were, and get companies to donate to Dance Marathon so we could put on a great event. Now, to do that, Dance Marathon, by chance, matched me up with someone to go walk around campus with. His name was Brendan Sorg. And because this is 12 years ago, the fact that I remember this person's first and last name means that in some way he was very significant. So Brendan and I are walking around Berea for maybe 2.5 hours. So at the time, there was no Facebook, there was no Instagram, there was no Snapchat. So I had to talk to him. Now, Brendan and I looked very different. I was this kind of like loud African-American girl on the campus. I was always wearing pink and green because of my sorority colors. Like, I was just a little all over the place. And Brendan was very reserved. He was a white guy. Like, he was in Greek life with me, but we didn't know each other. We just saw each other as, wow, this person is really different from me. But what we found out after walking and talking together for 2 hours is we actually had a lot of things in common. We had a lot of things in common. We had a lot of things to talk about. It was a very meaningful conversation. So at the end of that conversation, after we got to actually know each other and didn't just judge each other off what we thought, he said to me, Ashlee, have you had an internship yet? And I said, no, but I think it's about time I get onto the internship bandwagon. And he said, great, I know this woman. She would be so perfect for you to connect with. I'm going to email her for you. And I said, okay, great. I didn't think much of it. By the time I got back to my dorm, Brendan had made that connection, so I'm getting ready for this interview with this woman. Now, I was going to the IMG building, so I assumed that in Cleveland, okay, I'm gonna go intern at IMG. This is gonna be amazing. So this is IMG that represents like Tiger Woods and Venus and Serena Williams, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like I'm about to get into like the sport agent track. That's what I'm gonna do. This is gonna be amazing. So I get to the interview, which my mom had to drive me to because I had totaled 3 cars at this point. Three. So my mom drops me off. I'm in my suit. I go into IMG. I sit down in the interview and they say, this is not for IMG. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I make it through this interview. I was very candid about the fact that I studied the wrong thing, but they were impressed with me to a certain extent. And so that connection from Brendan led me to be this person's first intern. So I got to be LeBron James' first intern from 2000. Yes.
Is there a reason when I said I work for Ford Motor Company, y'all were like, so what? And then she says LeBron, and I hear, oh yeah, Ford Motor Company people.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Ford is also big.
Sorry.
In fairness, Ford is also big, right? So I got to be LeBron's very first intern for 2007 to 2009. So people obviously always ask, what did you do as his intern? And the answer is a little bit of everything. So this is where that approach anything like it's everything comes back into play here. So any task that they gave me, I acted like I was carrying a message to the White House. Like I was like, okay, I totally have it. So it started off as little things. So it was on Fridays, we're gonna do office cleaning. So like I scrubbed in that bathroom like you cannot even believe. I know that sounds crazy, but that was one of the things. I used to take grocery orders because everybody in the office got to make a list, and I would go to the grocery store like a very pre-version of Shipt, and I would go get everybody's groceries, bring them back to the office, but I did it with a smile and I did it very fast. But then once they started realizing that I had a handle on things, okay, this girl can handle things, she can balance things, they started giving me more tasks to do. So as I grew, one of the things they put me in charge of was making a process out of his fan mail, which you can imagine, this man gets a large volume of fan mail, but there was no process. So I was the person that put the process in there. That doesn't really have anything to do with my broadcasting degree or where I thought I was going, but I was just adding tools to my skill set to be able to pull upon later. So as I continued to go through this internship, the thing that really pivoted for me is they said, Ashlee, we're going to have a marketing summit, and all of LeBron's brand partners, so the top people from Coca-Cola and Nike and Cub Cadet and every person that he has a large sponsorship deal is going to come to Ohio, Akron, and we're going to throw an event so they can figure out how to work with each other better. And they said, that event is yours, go forth and conquer. They said this to me as a senior, rising senior in college, and I was just like, oh my gosh. But that was the turning point that let me know that, it looks like I need to recognize the pattern that I have a knack for balancing many things going on at once, and perhaps this is a skill set that I can take moving forward. And so that's what I did. I threw that event, and then my last LeBron story will be they called me one day when I was going into a final, and they called me on my day off, and they said, Ashlee, can you see if you can take your final later? Because we need you to take LeBron's movie to New York and come right back. So I said, of course. I let my professor know, and they said, go. So I literally got on a plane, went to New York with the DVD, holding it like I was taking it to the White House. I got in a car accident in the car, had to switch cars with the DVD because my boss called and said, are you okay? I said, yes. They said, where's the DVD? So I fixed all that, got in another car, literally walked into CNN, handed it off, got back in the car, got back on the plane, went back to Ohio, and took the final. So that was all in a day of things that happened. So again, the LeBron thing was preparing me for things that I didn't even know that were imaginable. Being in New York, which is the next chapter of my story, wasn't even really on my radar until this internship, which came from a conversation with Brendan, because I was very involved on campus, changed the whole course of where I even thought that my life was going. So now, if we look forward a little bit, let's talk about New York, 2009 to 2016. So I did celebrity events, but of course that is not where I started. I started at the bottom and worked my way up. So when I moved to New York, I interviewed for 3 places. One was IMG Broadcasting. Glad that one did not work out. The next one was Ralph Lauren. Also glad that didn't work out. And one of the main reasons I'm glad Ralph Lauren didn't work out is because of that cultural fit that I referenced earlier. So when I walked into Ralph Lauren, now mind you, I'm a girl from the Midwest, so at the time I had my suit on, but I also had my red bubble coat on. And when I walked into Ralph Lauren, everything was white on white on white on white on white on white. There was white rugs, there were white pictures, everyone was wearing white. I was just oh, this is too much. So that one did not work out, thankfully, not a cultural fit. But the last place I went was a company called Strategic Group. And so because of the LeBron connection and the impact that I had made while I was there interning and working, they made this connection for me. So I interviewed with somebody to become his executive assistant. And so that was the job that I was going to enter New York with. So I interviewed for it and I got it and I moved to New York. So when I talk about being an executive assistant, I first ask, have any of you seen the movie The Devil Wears Prada? Yes, okay. It was like that. Except for my boss actually was great. We're very close to this day. But when I joined the company, it was another strategic thing that happened, because when you're someone's executive assistant, you're basically learning how to be their shadow, how to anticipate things, how to guess what's next 2 days before it happens. That's what the job is, really figuring that stuff out. And again, back to that approaching anything like it's everything, I took my playbook from working for LeBron and I translated it to working for this new company. So one morning, and I hesitate to say this in the, in the Me Too era, but I must tell this story because it's relevant. So my job
not
relevant to Me Too, but the task, you guys are gonna be like, oh my gosh. So my boss called me one morning at 7 a.m. and he literally just said, I have a lump in my mattress, and I hung up the phone. And I was like, okay, what does that mean? So I went to work and then I went to his house and I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out this lump in his mattress. So I literally couldn't figure out what was happening with the mattress. So I got in the bed and rolled around and I was like, okay, well, there's a lump in the mattress. He's absolutely right. Let me fix it. So my tasks were down to that kind of minutia. But because I did that stuff and I approached it with efficiency and getting it done quickly, my role within the company quickly started to grow. So in the years that I was there, I was able to move pretty quickly. So I started off as his executive assistant and I got to be director of that same company in 5 years. And that is literally from just having hustle, being scrappy, and also recognizing a few things along the way. So one of the things I'll tell you, just as you're at this stage in your life, people always talk about networking up, who can you network up to? But my best advice to you is that you network across. Look for those people who are at your level or maybe just above your level and make an impact on them, make their life easier, and I guarantee you it will open up doors for you and change your life as well. And the reason I say this is the only reason that I went from EA to director that fast was because when I first got to the company, I was like, okay, well, this executive assistant stuff is not rocket science. So I'm likely able to handle that task with a lot of other tasks. So I would just start going around the office and asking people if they needed help. And after doing that for a while, and they actually saw that I was alleviating tasks, they would give me things. So my trajectory kind of goes, I did the EA role, then I started working with LeBron again on an event that he did called Two Kings, which is a huge event with himself and Jay-Z. They do a renovation of a gym in an underserved market over All-Star Weekend, a dinner and an after party. So I got to function as an event assistant on that because of my relationship with LeBron's people, but also because of me being scrappy and wanting to learn and take on more and more. After that, in 2011, one of the largest events that I did was it was opening of the Cosmopolitan of Las Vegas, and it was New Year's Eve 2011, and it was a Jay-Z, Coldplay, John Mayer, Beyonce concert at midnight. And we had to find a plane for Kanye West at like 10 p.m. to get him there at midnight when the ball was dropping, which we did. And he got on stage without a sound check. That is notable, people. My first solo surgery, as we call it, and again, this is all a progression, learning a little bit at a time, networking, and getting to the next level. So my first solo surgery, as we call it, which is the first event that I got to do by myself, was the London Olympics. This picture of LeBron is actually from that party right after he won his gold medal, thus the flag situation going on there. And again, my career just continued to grow and flourish and blossom. So I had an amazing experience living in New York, but it wasn't without hard work, and it didn't come from just, arriving. No one just arrives. It's hard work. You have to start yourself at the bottom, humble yourself, and be willing to work and get really gritty to make it work. But little did I know, all of this was not preparing me to own my own event agency. It was preparing me to own a technology startup with my mom, which is where we are going to pivot next.
But do you want to tell them how great it is to work with me?
No, I don't. I will say though, before I pivot there, this is my favorite place to take pause, and this will just, I think, make you smile about the importance of face-to-face connectivity a little bit. So, one of the events that I did, and this is a snippet from the event, so if you just try to pick out some of the names, you'll gather some things. The one thing I'll point out at this event, this part of the article says, Britney Spears was paid an estimated $200,000 to $300,000 to sing Happy Birthday. That's what kind of event it was. It was on that level. So let me set the tone for you very quickly for this event. We had a client, and he was turning 30-something, and so naturally, he wanted to throw a birthday party. So what was our budget for this birthday party? It was $4 million. Now, the event was in 3 weeks, and during those 3 weeks, a hurricane happened in New York, and the event was in Las Vegas. So there was all sorts of issues from the jump with this event. Needless to say, we pulled it off flawlessly. One detail, just to give you a scale of how big this thing was, he wanted to throw the party in a tent. The tent was at the end of the Las Vegas Strip, if you can think of that, and it was big enough that a carousel could fit in the, or not a carousel, what is that called? Ferris wheel could fit in the tent and peek out the top of it and look down the strip. So if that's making sense to you, I have like any engineers in here. It was a big tent is what I'm trying to say. So I go to this story because it is the ultimate example of face-to-face connectivity at work. So at the end of the event, I found someone's handbag. So I was in charge of security, so I said, okay, let me take this handbag. I looked inside, figured out the ID. Okay, great, I know this person. Let me take the handbag. I'll make sure she gets it back. Now the next day, it was my first day off in like 3.5, 4 weeks. Okay, I'm exhausted. I don't want to talk to anyone, but I have this bag and I need to return it. Long story short, I go and finally find this person to return this bag. It took me 2.5 hours to find her walking around the casino floor because she was not picking up her cell phone. But once I finally found her, she was actually with the birthday boy. So it made sense for me to return that bag and not hand it off. When I gave that bag back to her, she looked at me and said, thank you. And because of the face-to-face touch that happened, she put something in my hand. And when I looked down, it was a $25,000 chip in the casino. And I cashed that thing out and went home. So my moral of the story is face-to-face matters. in any sense of the word, because that would have been a very easy situation for me to just say, I'm not doing this. Let me give this to the desk, the bellman, whomever, and let them handle it. No, 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 no. Your job, your business, your schooling, whatever, every facet of it is on you. So I would encourage you to take a role in that. And my mom can definitely testify to that story.
I worked at Ford Motor Company, people. That's what I did. I face to face with everybody every day. I didn't never got $25,000 at a time, but I did put her through school. We are partners.
That's right. So now we're going to shift gears a little bit because I want to go over to the entrepreneurial part of this as we're coming to a close. I hope you, well, not that close of a close, because we do want to leave time for questions, so I hope you guys have some. But as I'm shifting to entrepreneurship, I need to know, who is this? Oh, yeah, okay, I was going to say, okay, yes, who over here said that? Sarah Blakely, you did? Oh, thank you. So this is Sarah Blakely. I need all of you to know who this is because she lives in Atlanta with y'all. Know who this is. Sarah is amazing. She is the founder of Spanx. I'm wearing them now. They are amazing. She is the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. And it's necessary for me to read this quote to you because this is the quote that my mom and I have built our business on. The quote is, I did not have the most experience in the industry or the most money, but I cared the most. And to finish it, it's about solving the problem. And that's the way my mom and I feel about this business that we've built today, Mixtroz. So my mom and I cared the most to solve the problem. And in this case, we didn't have the technology degree, we didn't have the coding skills, but we cared the most to solve the problem. And that's what we done. And I'm going to take you through quickly how we did that. But first, I'm going to show you a video just to set the tone so you guys can see a little bit about where we are today, and then I'll let you know how we got there. Oh, is there sound? It's coming. Sound? Yeah? Where did he just disappear to? Oh, I was like, where did he just go? That's so strange. Well, while he's coming over here to get the sound ready, what I will say about this, so the way that our story begins is, I went to a conference in 2014, and it was an all-female conference. The reason that I went to the conference was to make additional networking connections. I wanted to make connections with people who were not in nightlife, hospitality, or spirits, or anything that I was really involved in. I wanted people who had contacts in beauty and editorial and fashion and other things going on in New York. So I paid the money to go to this conference. At the conference over lunch, and Sarah Blakely was the keynote, by the way. At the conference over lunch, though, the event organizer said, go up to somebody with the same colored dot on their name tag as you. And so that was weird. I was like, that's the networking? That's it? I had gone to the conference by myself, but for me to do what she suggested, it meant me going up to another woman, like looking at her breast area, because that's where the name tag is, and being like, you're yellow, I'm yellow, let's talk about that. That's really weird. And I was like, I'm not doing that. So I didn't. And so I shied away from the networking opportunity that was presented to me. And so later that same night, I was talking to my mom about that because her being the HR guru from Ford, she asked, who did you meet at the conference? And I said, I didn't meet anybody because it was awkward when I tried to do it. And there was the moment. There was the moment that we realized that there was a problem that did not have a solve the solve at least that we were talking about. There were things out there that are used, tools that are used to help people connect at live events, but there was not a tool that was talking about people making connections the way we were. And so what we noticed is event networking is ultimately unprofitable, it's awkward, and it's valueless. And to solve for that, we've created a company called Mixtroz, which stands for Mixer and Introduction Smushed Together. So now that we have a little bit of sound, yes. So I'm going to try to play this video again. So basically this video will show you just a clip about where we are today and a little bit of our pitch. This is a video that we submitted for Google's demo day this year. So we're still in the running for that. So we're hoping that's going to be a go, but this will just give you an idea and then I'll go a little bit deeper. There we go. I feel like I'm in an awkward spot. to a bad networking event or planned a bad networking event? Yes. Yes. It is bad, aside from acidic wine and rubber chicken, it is bad because you go to this thing, you make the effort to leave your home, and when you get there, you don't make connections that are valuable. Or as the event host, you just slide this into your event run or show, and it means nothing. No rhyme or reason to it. Live event networking is unprofitable, it's awkward, and it's valueless. And the solve that we created for this is Mixtroz, which is a technology that drives live event attendees from the digital space, their mobile phone, to the physical space in real time. And by doing that, we're able to increase engagement, save time and money for our clients, and collect data. Data collection is the #1 reason why people use event technologies to begin with. Really, with Mixtroz, which is the word mixer and introduction smushed together, you can think about us like LinkedIn, but live. Okay, so that's that. So that's kind of where Mixtroz is today. Let me tell you, it took a hot second to get there. So the way that our company started is, and I'm going to give you a brief overview, a summary of the company, which I hope you guys will have some questions about later. So we came up with this idea in November 2014. That was when we thought, and we went to the conference, experienced that, had our conversation. About a month later, I came home for the holidays. At this point, I was still living in New York. And we had what I thought I was coming home for, like a rest, because I had award season coming in the new year for the events job, but actually I came home to a 10-day think tank with my mom, which was awesome. So we did that, and we got down to the nitty-gritty of, what the heck are we trying to build? Oh my gosh, it's an app. How do you build an app? Who do you call for that? Like, there's no Ghostbuster for that. Like, who do you call? So we had to figure out all those things. But also while I was home, I remembered that one of the events I had worked on in the past was the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas. And so I remembered that, and I said, ooh, Mom, maybe that's something we should go to next year, meaning 2016. And she was like, nah, I'm gonna go this year. So my mom went by herself to the Consumer Electronics Show in cowboy boots, because we're from Nashville, no less. And she really stood out in that crowd. There was no one there who looked like her. She specifically went to an activation space called App Nation. And so that's where you go to learn about apps within CES. And she didn't see anyone that looked like her, and of course thought this would be a great opportunity for Mixtroz. But long story short, she ended up sitting at a table when she was eating dinner where there were already drinks sitting there. And when she sat at the table, 2 other gentlemen joined her, and after a while they were talking, and it turned out those drinks were theirs, and they have been our app developers ever since 2015, that fateful conversation at that table. So again, this is just being able to accept when things are going correctly and just rolling with it. So from there, keep in mind, I'm still living in New York at this point. We worked on this, and we worked on this all day, every day. So my mom was on the ground in Nashville trying to make a name for ourselves, getting involved with different things in the Nashville tech economy. And Nashville, frankly, was not very receptive to us when we first launched there, because we are, frankly, 2 black ladies with non-technical backgrounds. We're launching an event business in Nashville, which is all about healthcare and music. So when we first launched there, they were like, we have no idea what you're talking about. Like, okay, see ya. And so we took that moment not as okay, well then we obviously can't do this, but we turned it into we just have to figure out where else to do this. So over the course of that first year, 2015, we were able to get our MVP done, and we actually were able to sell in our MVP and do demos that very first year. And again, it was just my mom in Nashville down there kind of making a dent in the market. So when we got to 2016, now we're at a place where we have a functioning MVP product. So it's time to see if anybody's going to buy this thing. We had our first client purchase Mixtroz on March 5th, 2016. And what was amazing about it was at a conference that they purchased it, and we were very concerned about this because it was the first nice day in the spring in Nashville, and our app was to be used in the very last hour of a conference that was 8 hours on a Saturday. And we're like, okay, great, nobody's going to stay for this thing. But actually what ended up happening is they used Mixtroz for their end of day networking, and people stayed so long networking, they had to shut off the lights in the venue. Therefore, we knew we had something. So we kept rolling with it. So if we fast forward a little bit in 2016, I was still living in New York, still hanging on to the New York lifestyle. I hadn't completely embraced the entrepreneurship part.
Not at all.
Not at all. I had not embraced it because entrepreneurship is a lot about embracing discomfort. There is discomfort that comes along with being an entrepreneur. There is a level of sacrifice that comes along with being an entrepreneur. You have to change things about yourself to truly become an entrepreneur. Should it be miserable? No. But do you have to scale back? Absolutely. And I wasn't quite ready to. And so in June 2016, though, I was convinced that I needed to come over to the business full time, and that is exactly what I did. So we were in an accelerator together, and this is where our research comes in. So Nashville wasn't receptive to us at the time, so we did a little research and found out that Chattanooga, which is only 2 hours from Nashville, was the number one place in the United States for a female to start a business. So we said, let's find an accelerator program in Chattanooga, and that's what we did. And she and I moved to Chattanooga for a summer in 2016. We lived in a dorm together. Oh my gosh. And we made...
What? Okay, there's a washer dryer in here, a bed that's way too big. Like, things have changed since I've been in college.
Yes, clearly.
And my roommate doesn't clean.
Yes, right.
I did not get the good end of that.
She did not. So, we lived in the dorm. When we were in that accelerator, it gave us the opportunity to really refine our product, refine how we were talking about our product and whatnot. And we came out ready to really scale our product forward. A couple things I want to touch on though, by the time we got to this point. One of the things is life doesn't not happen because you're an entrepreneur. So while it's great that you've become a startup entrepreneur, regular things in life don't just stop happening. And case in point, and my mom hates when I do this, but in November 2015, she was actually diagnosed with breast cancer in the middle of...
I'm still here, people.
She's still here! Yay! Yeah, everybody looks so upset. Okay, so she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and I say that to say things kept going. She would go to radiation and then go to meetings. And I was still living in New York working on Mixtroz in the nights, but we made it work because when you're an entrepreneur, something shifts in you. The fire never burns out when you're truly there and you just see what the end goal could be and you continue to chase it. In addition to that, so we did something that's a little bit of an anomaly. So some facts on fundraising. So of course, when you're in a startup, you have to figure out some capital for yourself. So we put in the first $30,000 with our business. She put in a little bit more than I did. But regardless, we ended up raising, so Black female founders on average raise $36,000. Period. That's it. $36,000. We put in $36,000 almost by ourselves. We have since raised over $200,000. So thank goodness. So thank you for that. We are in process of another raise, but before we wind this down, what we do want to do is talk about this last year that we've had because it has gone in warp speed to get us to where we are today. So today, for example, we drove here from Birmingham because we are in another accelerator program in Birmingham that is all about scaling. It's called Velocity. This accelerator program is built to help a company scale. They make a investment into your company, and then over the course of 12 weeks, they are trying to get you to reoccurring revenue, which is where we are today. But over the course of 2017, we did a few things. We sold into a ton of clients. So one of our clients is HCA, Georgia Tech, Pinnacle Bank, big names. So our process is definitely working. We participated in TEDx and a fundraising platform called I Fund Women that rolled out in Nashville that was looking for women-founded businesses. We went to Collision Conference and we wore t-shirts at Collision Conference. So Collision Conference is a huge tech conference in New Orleans, and we wore t-shirts at this conference that said Black Female Founder Fund Me. That was a $12 marketing ploy, and it got us our first article in Forbes. So you don't always have to be totally crazy to come out on top, and you don't have to spend a ton of money to do it either. You're forced to get scrappy and use what you have to get to where you're going. In addition, we filmed a show in August, and that show will be coming out later in February. It's this lovely show on the A&E network called Rooster and Butch. You saw a little bit of a sneak peek of it on here, and so that again is a way to get our name out there and additional capital investment. we also pitched, we pitched all over the place. We pitched all over the place. We went as far as Vegas, Copenhagen, New Mexico. In Copenhagen, we actually won an international pitch competition. And I'm telling you all of this to say, hold on. I'm telling you all this to say that that took time. It took time to build. It's not something that comes overnight. Entrepreneurship is very much, it is the slow and steady. It's very often not the sprint. So before you get into entrepreneurship, that's something you should know going in, because I know we thought, oh my gosh, we have a great idea. Oh my gosh, we're two black females with a business and we're mother-daughter. We are about to sell this thing. Does not work that way. So before you get into something, I want you to look forward and look at the commitment it really does take. Go ahead.
I do want to say, we pitched a year before, and I had to, and we pitched here in Atlanta, which was pretty funny. We did a great job. We did an awesome job at the pitch. And when they were about to announce the winners, we went out to the bathroom, put on more makeup, little, highlight around here, lipstick. Ashley said, how do I look? She had her hair twisted up. We sucked in because we were like, oh, these pictures are going to be awesome. And so I got my stand. She hates when I do this because she says it's a corporate stand. But I was like, here I go. And they called another name. And it was like, oh, but me being the more mature person on the team, I was like, it's cool. I said, we're going to work this room and we're going to talk to people. This ma'am literally fell on the floor. The next thing I know, she's in the bathroom in the fetal position. I can't believe we lost. I can't believe we lost. But we actually won. There was an investor in the room that actually invested 4 times as much as the prize money was. So sometimes you don't know that you're winning, but you really are winning. And it's funny because this particular investor actually keeps up with us, and he kind of ribs his friend saying, oh, remember, that's the team that lost. So again, you have to take on challenges. You have to have confidence in yourself. And everybody's not going to clap and applaud, but when you have a good product and you're working hard at it, your time will come.
Yes.
And it was, I'm telling you, in the bathroom, crocodile tears.
I was.
Coming.
I'm a millennial. Anyway, so the last 2 things I'd like to do before we do open this up for questions is I, of course, want to show you how Mixtroz works. So let me set the scene for you. So let's pretend we were all using Mixtroz today. All of you guys were going to network with one another. So this is how it would work. On the way into the event, you would have been instructed to download the Mixtroz app essentially. And once you did that, you would open it and it would use your phone's location services to recognize that you are here at Georgia Tech. From there, Georgia Tech logo would be here, but you would click into the branded event. After that, you would do a virtual name tag for yourself in the app. So that's your name and then your email address twice. And then after that, you would snap a selfie, which you're about to see me fumble with snapping a selfie, so I apologize. So you would snap a selfie of yourself. And the reason we have people snap a selfie is because we want to know what you look like today, not on your most fabulous day, which is what is on Facebook and LinkedIn. So great. That's what I decided on. Awesome. So you take your selfie and you can retake it if you like, but then you enter a question series. So the event organizer or a sponsor gets to ask 10 multiple choice questions in the app. They get all of this data that's collected, but we use this information in real time to use our network, to make our networking groups. So it's essentially like taking a survey in app. And then whatever time networking is going to take place, you'll see a countdown clock, but then your group will be revealed. So let's pretend for a second. Networking time is in 1 second. Great, this is my group of people. They are here with me somewhere. And we're gonna meet at meeting location 1. And so there will be a 1 in this room somewhere that corresponds to that. And then once everybody gets there, we provide you with conversation starters. And then thankfully, humanity kicks back in. So this, from that problem that we talked about in 2014, is the product that we've built that is now selling in nationwide. And it was a journey. And so finally, before we get into the questions part, a couple things I want to leave you with. So first of all, AALIE, which is ally. I don't know what that is, but that's approach anything like it's everything. Yeah, that's what I get, yeah. That is approach anything like it's everything. I gave you a couple examples in my life, but it is so true. Everything from the very small, the trivial things, and it doesn't matter if it's in the classroom, if it's at a campus job, if it's at an off-campus job, if it's with your parents, whatever. Approach it like it's everything, because you just never know who's watching and where your help will come from. And in fact, I'll say most of the help in this entrepreneurial journey for us have come from people we did not know at the beginning of the journey, who have made themselves known to us and who have helped us get to the next step. The next thing, which should be obvious by this point, face-to-face is fire. It could get you $25,000 chip. I'm just saying, you never know when those opportunities are coming. So face-to-face is everything. Your phone is great. All of this technology is awesome, but there is not going to be a technology in our lifetime that replaces face-to-face connectivity. Remember that. Talk to everyone. Give everyone a chance, because you never know. It's funny to me. Does anybody in here watch the show Black Mirror? Hi, guys. Okay, so in the most recent season, and I'm not going to give you a spoiler, but in the most recent season, there's an episode called Hang the DJ. It's about dating. And the funny thing to me is Black Mirror is set so far in the future, but the thesis is the same as ours, which is you use technology to drive people to face-to-face. Proves to me, again, there's something there. Network across. So look at your peers, look at your classmates, look at people who are into the things that you're doing, and people who are at the same level than you that are interested in things completely opposite from you. Network with those people. You never know where your break is going to come from. Mine came from Brendan Sorg. That was a great example of networking across. Brendan got me to LeBron and beyond. You never know where your break is coming from. Look for or embrace discomfort. Of course, we talked about that in entrepreneurship. To be completely honest with you, entrepreneurship has put me on the threshold of my sanity. It has drove me to cry. It has drove me to have a glass of wine. It has brought me bottle. It has brought me, though, so many great things with my mom, with my family. It has made me happy. It has made me a better speaker, a better human, a better co-worker, so many things, but it is all that bundled into one. And so as you get ready for it, approach it like you need to, and don't feel like a failure when you are down on yourself and things aren't going right. That probably means that you're moving in the right direction. That's what it's supposed to feel like. Somebody needed to tell me that. Look for patterns in your life. My pattern happened to be that face-to-face connectivity is king, and I recognize that. And so that is the business we were able to build based on something that started in my life in 2005. So look at your life, look at patterns that are reoccurring, and chase those and see if there's something there. And finally, it's feed your mind, and that happens to go back to the embrace discomfort, because what I recognized for me is I needed an outlet for myself when I was an entrepreneur, because it was really making me depressed. And my outlet, for some reason, became podcasts. I don't know why, but hearing the struggle from people who have been there, people who I aspire to get toward, that was an amazing thing for me. I needed to hear what Mark Cuban did when he first started his companies, Sarah Blakely even. One of my favorite ones is called How I Built This. It's a great thing to feed your mind and be aware of what's going on in the world. And so if you're not, I would suggest doing that. Podcasts are a great way, but whatever way works for you to consume the content. It's important that you guys are a contributing member of today's society. So remember that. You have something? Oh, so what I'm going to do now, and my mom, she's my hype man. She makes this run long, but I'm going to open this up for questions. Again, we appreciate it. We're glad to drop a little bit of something on you, and we hope you got something from it. So yeah, thank you.
Great. For the app example that you gave, you guys showed that you take up to 10 questions. It's from the company, and then you form the groups. Do the questions inform the group formation, or is that separate from that? So are you looking at the responses to questions and putting them together with people that are like them in those answers, or are they separate?
Yeah, go ahead.
The algorithm, we're able to set on each question to either make the group similar, dissimilar, or totally random. And so then the algorithm will go looking for, depending, because if you're having Greek life, for instance, you may not want all the same sorority and fraternity members sitting together. So depending on how you answer that question could make the group diverse. But do you like volunteer work? could make that diverse group similar on that. Does that make sense?
It does. That's perfect. Yeah. So does the company, do you guys kind of make those decisions with the company that you're doing
That's
it
right.
with, the
So
sponsor?
the company comes to us and they have what they'd like their end goal to be, and we let them know how to get there through our technology.
That's great.
Yeah,
Thanks.
thank you. I'm like you're coming.
I know,
next.
you want to know where I worked for.
She's funny. She's funny.
Kind of close. I was actually wondering how you guys have leveraged Georgia Tech or Scheller College in your time with Mixtroz.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, it was a huge step getting on the campus of an institution like this. Specifically for us, being non-technical tech founders, this was a big, I feel like, validation step, specifically because we were used in the classroom setting, which was a new use case for us. So I'm going to, again, Dr. Johnson, I'm sorry, here we go. So what Dr. Johnson did was she used us to take her section of 180 students and break them into groups of 5. Those 5 served as her end of semester project teams, and it was all based on questions that they answered in her organizational behavior class. So using the technology for an application like that, and then it being at an institution like Georgia Tech. I mean, I just read what, like number 13, like best MBA program, all this stuff. Okay, great. Because now I can go to, we live in Nashville. Nashville's surrounded by places of higher learning. I can go to any school in Nashville and say, here's what we did at Georgia Tech, and then they want to have a conversation.
And Dr. Johnson, not to put you on the spot, but it worked, right? And the students were able to assimilate. It was
great.
It was a great way, at least from my perspective as a professor of the class, to get different students in a group together. I think in groups that they typically wouldn't have been in.
Yes.
Because kind of like to Amy's question, we were able to together come up with questions for them to answer, so that they could be kind of groups based off of differences and similarities, and that could help them to work together as a team. So I think it was.
Thank you. And at the end of the activation, Dr. Johnson got the data on how the groups were formed, who were in each group, and how people answered the questions. So.
No. I think you have a question? Yeah. Hold on. There's a thank you, by the way. You getting your steps in. I need my steps. Okay, go ahead.
Hey, I just wanted to ask, is there any point in your journey where you felt like, because like quitting a full-time job, it's a big deal.
Yeah.
It's a big change in life.
Oh, man.
Is there any point in your journey where you wanted to give up? And if there was, how did you cope with it?
Okay, so the answer to that question is every other week. I really struggled. I am extremely type A, my personality type. I really enjoy structure. And with entrepreneurship, there is none. You're kind of venturing into the unknown, and you have to wait to see what the market says to see what you're going to do next. To be clear, between my mom and I'm sure she'll have something to say about this as well. We both gave up 6-figure salaries. Her 6 figures was a bit more intense than mine. But anyway, we gave up 6-figure salaries. I gave up everything in New York life, moved home, relocated. I'm in my brother's room. Right now, we're living in our apartment in Birmingham to complete the Accelerator. We just rented
Don't
some.
tell my husband that yet. I'm not telling him that until this weekend.
Yeah, great.
I was like, I'll be back Friday.
Yeah. So, so it does come with sacrifice. And the way to get through it is to find an outlet. Like there has, in popular culture, I think there's become this thing where you see the picture of the entrepreneur, and it's often someone who is like always on the brink of like utter destruction. And if that is how entrepreneurship is making your life flow, I would recommend you get out of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is tough, it's hard, it's all those things, but it should not make your life miserable. Will it make it a challenge? Absolutely. But I think you have to figure out a way to create outlets for yourself that have nothing to do with your business, which is the way that I've been able to do it. Now, don't get me wrong, my mom and I work and live together, so we talk about Mixtroz 24/7, but for me, like things like going to the gym and whatnot, those are my non-negotiables that must happen, and that's how I keep my sanity. But it is 24/7, all in, all hands on deck, all the time.
And it is. I mean, the one thing that I tell entrepreneurs is, even though you need to jump in and be full at it, you also need to have a plan, because at the end of the day, you still, I would assume, have bills, family, you like burgers or whatever, and it really, I mean, I think I made the ultimate sacrifice when I no longer had somebody coming to clean my house, which I was really accustomed to that. Or even pedicures are like, well, I'll do that every 8 weeks instead of every 3 or 4 weeks. I mean, it gets serious, and it gets so serious, and the stress sometimes can be so stressful. I would have a fake heart attack about every 3 weeks.
We literally,
last spring.
we lived at the ER. We knew who the perfusionist was, like on staff, like phlebotomist, whatever. So like, it's a thing, like it's real, but your health has to come first. You as a person, and I mean mental health, and then I mean your physical health, and then your business is a very close second.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So based on the backgrounds that you both said, I can tell that both of you have you worked at Forbes, which is a very prestigious company, and and
wait, yeah, I was gonna say you don't have to say that to her. Go ahead.
And you've worked with I guess many celebrities.
Yeah.
My thing is because you're in such a good position, why would you want to, I guess, start over and go through that struggle?
You know what? Seriously, we say we don't know. We had a conversation on November the 9th, which was a Sunday evening. We talk all the time, and she had that. I was doing something in Franklin that said, man, this is hard. And how does it work? And that one conversation has turned our lives upside down. Literally, I had to tell my husband, I am the breadwinner. He cooked with the kids. I'm quitting my job. And he thought I was kidding. He was like, yeah, okay, whatever. And my son was, he was a senior in high school, college, cars.
No, the answer is when you think of it's an obsession. Like when you think of a solve for something and you think about it in a way that no one has yet, you're like we could not, I don't think we could sleep without being like, well, what if? What if we were 2 months away from who knows what, So it's just that keep going. And every time we want to give up, generally something happens that makes us change our minds. So in December, we found out that we got accepted to Velocity Accelerator in Birmingham, and we were like, oh, guess we'll keep going. So yeah, it's one of those things. It's very week by week. Trust and believe that.
Actually, our clients end up being repeat clients because once they use our technology, they see they see the value. And so, when you have these big clients, the Georgia Tech, Vanderbilt Medical Center, entrepreneur organization, which Nashville has the #1 entrepreneur organization in the country, and you have those kind of clients, it's something. But it is a process. Let me say that.
Yes. Anything else?
We have time for one more question.
That gentleman, that guy.
Hi. You mentioned that you didn't find any customer first in Nashville, but then I guess you did in this first accelerator. Can you tell us a bit how you approached the process of finding the first customers and how this changed your MVP?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we launched Mixtroz, it was important for us when we were identifying which verticals we were going to go after. So colleges and universities made sense to us just because of the nature of people continually coming into the campus that are new, needing to integrate, etc. My mom's background lends itself for us being an enterprise tool with her HR background. And then for us, conferences and conventions was a natural fit as well because that has to do with my background in events and marketing. So when we first launched in Nashville, they just literally weren't trying to hear anything about event technologies in general. So when we went to Chattanooga, we refined the way we were talking about Mixtroz. Like that pitch that you saw, I used to have to read from cue cards. I wasn't pitching like a machine like that. In the beginning, it was a very slow process. We had to figure out not how we wanted to explain the product to the consumer, but how the consumer understood it themselves. And then that's what we had to start saying. So there's a misconception when you're an entrepreneur that it's your idea, the business is about you. That is false. It is your idea, but the business is about the consumer. because they're the one that's paying you. So it was all about how we were talking about the product. And then when we got out of the Accelerator, we used our networks, frankly, and made our first 5 sales. So like in our network was Deloitte. Who else was in there? Several other companies. But Deloitte was a big one to get the ball rolling. So when you grab a client like Deloitte, then everybody else starts to pay attention. But the biggest shift there, and this is something that we're going through in the Accelerator we're in right now, is figuring out how to talk about it in a way that works for your client. And the best example of that is we had an epiphany this morning that when we sell into a client, we're trying to pitch the product to them, and that's not correct. The client should get on the phone, and we should basically act as a counselor to them and say, okay, but why do you feel that way about the product? We need to ask the why questions and really let them get out all of their thoughts, wants, needs, and then tell them how Mixtroz can solve that for them. So that's a pivot that we're having to make even today. That answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, I was going to say, I see a hand, but I do want to say, please check out, she gets so mad when I say this, but I'm the mom, and I actually can put her in timeout still. Take that to the bank. But I want to say, please check out our social media, Hello Mixtroz, across Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. That will tell you when the show comes on. It also will keep up with what we're doing.
Yes.
Are you mocking me?
Oh, no. I was not. And if anybody wants our contact information, a card, anything like that, or you have a question to ask after, we would love to answer that for you. The biggest thing that I hope is this gave you an overview into, honestly, if we can become entrepreneurs, I charge any of you sitting out here to become an entrepreneur. It is all about having a vision, having a thought about something in a way that no one else has yet. And that's possible, I believe, for every single person that's in this room, and taking it step by step, day by day, and just going out there and doing it. So please, if you guys have any questions, thoughts, concerns, you can either get our information, you can email me, you can tweet at me. It's me answering, it's not her. And we'll go from there. So thank you so much for having us.